All right. So it's the end of 2022, a year in which inflation has choked our economy closer to a recession. And as hope for a rebound dims, podcast advertisers will likely continue to downsize their budgets and reconsider which shows they'll spend with. When doing this, brands cannot overlook the advertising power of culture, heritage, and identity evident in these statistics from the 2022 Latino Podcast Listener Report. First, we know that 2/3 of monthly podcast listeners in the US who identify as Hispanic or Latino listened to a show in the last month that was hosted by other Latinos, and that's up from 62% last year. But something intriguing happens when these listeners are presented with this question. As a result of hearing a sponsorship or advertisement on a podcast that you listen to, have you ever purchased a product or service? 64% of the Latino audience that had listened to a podcast hosted by Latinos in the last month, represented here by the red bar, say yes, while a quarter of listeners that had never heard a show by Latinos say the same. In fact, listeners of Latino-hosted podcasts are more likely to have gathered more information about a product, recommended a product, and used the promotional code mentioned in a podcast. And this is because Latino hosts have an easier time cultivating connections with Latino listeners that result in these benefits for advertisers and brands. Connections founded on culture, heritage, and identity. Connections advertising brands cannot forget about when choosing where to spend their money in 2023. For more information on the Latino Podcast Listener Report, you can visit edisonresearch.com.